let's see what's in store for September. Hi there, I'm Natasha of Natasha Miller Creates, and every month I am using these mini brand surprise eggs to pick my theme for the next month. Last month we had coffee espresso machine, and this month looks like we'll be having sneakers. Not too mad about that, it does fit in perfectly with a September theme. However, I have done a sneaker theme before, so I'm going to open it up and see what's in here to decide what I'm going to do and how it's going to look in my journal. I have no idea what I'm gonna do, and I don't even know if I want to do another sneaker theme. So we will see. This is the first time doing this that I actually am contemplating opening a new egg, because this is just kind of boring. So the last time I did a sketches or a sneaker theme, I feel like I kind of crushed it. Maybe I can sit with it a little bit and then decide what I want to do. Do I just stick stuff over what I've already done and use it as is for 2024? I am super tempted, as I've been so behind for so long on my bullet journaling. But I don't know. I'll see what I can come up with. Okay, so I sat with this for a little bit trying to decide what I was going to do for a theme, and I was actually having a really hard time with it. So I came to an important decision. It's my journal and I can do what I want. I don't want to do this theme, so I'm picking a new egg. I know I have some extras in there for the rest of the year. If not, I can add a couple more. It's not a big deal. But we are picking a new egg because I don't want to do it. And now with that said, I feel like I've opened Pandora's box here, because I don't know if I want to do this one either. She's like, okay. I'm totally gonna cheat and use the paper for my inspiration. The crayons and the smiley face and the hearts and the stars and the stuff like that. And I think I'm just gonna do that because why not? And it'll be another simple bullet journal theme that you can use if you ever get stuck or feel uninspired by what the universe has put in front of you. Or, you know, something less dramatic. Okay, I wanted to just check in quickly. This was the initial piece that I'd created, and this was the initial color scheme I had chosen. However, I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't feeling it for many reasons. I don't know if it was the orange or the pink and the orange. I don't know. I didn't like it. So instead of throwing the whole thing out, struggle does not mean failure, I just played around with the colors and I came up with this one instead. And this I love so much more. I feel the message stands out more. It's got the fun elements to it, and it's going to tie in with what I want to do in my journal. So I just wanted to share. So there's the before, and then there's the after. So, okay, so since the doll is Crayola, I'm kind of, I feel like I should use my Crayola Super tips. I love my, I don't even know where the run is. Love my acrylographs, and I'm tempted to use my Tombows, but I think it'll only be fair, considering the direction I took with this, to use the Crayola instead, especially because I also changed the green. I feel like her green's gotten brighter, maybe just the lighting changed, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to use my Crayola Super Tips, and just for bonus fun, between her and my sons, I've been flying through tripods like you wouldn't believe. But let's get into these, and I'm going to tie them into my lettering piece and we'll see what colors I will be needing. Okay, so I have my Crayolas and we're going to match them to my hand lettered dashboard, and that's how we're gonna figure out what colors we're using. Okay, I think that guy's toast. Okay, so before I move on to the next step, I'm going to take this moment to say, use your stuff, because if you don't use your stuff, that's when this happens. Occasionally you're going to get a pen. I've had it happen with my calligraphs. I've had it happen with my Tombows. Occasionally you'll get them when they look like this, but this pen set, honestly, I think is 5 years old, and I don't use it as much as I used to. And even though the Super Tips are more affordable, it's still money I paid that basically I don't use them, and so because I don't use them, this happens, and then that's money that you've wasted. So all that to say, use your stuff. So it took a while to get here, but we're finally starting to set up my bullet journal. Basically, the theme of the setup was definitely struggle does not mean failure. There were many times I wanted to lean into trusting the process, and then the process failed me, but you'll see that later on in the video. As for my theme, one thing I didn't actually verbalize when I was opening my second mini brand egg was the laughter about the doll was because it was giving the same energy as the sneakers. Considering it's this hip, trendy doll that has her sneakers and her skateboard, and it was just so ridiculous to me that, again, it was leaning more into the sneakers theme. So I decided to go with socks. And so that is my theme for September, socks. And you will see how I incorporate that into my layouts across the board. I also shared how I struggled with incorporating the color palette, but I'm really happy with where I landed. I would have loved to use the orange, but it wasn't working for me, but I'm happy with the colors that I chose in the end. I'm using my Lumos Pro pen from Tom Studio to outline the socks. I wanted to use a thicker nib. I had the 0.3 wide nib in there and wanted a thicker one, so I changed it out for the 1.0 nib. And I used that nib to outline all of the socks as well as add some detail. And once that was done, I went back and put the 0.3 wide nib back in, since that has been my nib of choice for probably the last couple months. As you can see, I went for my Crayola Super Tips, and I'm really happy I did. I forget how much fun they are to layer, so once the initial layer has dried, you can go in with the same color and just add in some shadows. And that way you can see it gives it some dimension. And that's probably one of my favorite things about the Super Tips, as well as the price obviously, because the price is pretty unbeatable. I did choose to skip over a lot of the coloring and a lot of the outlining, because honestly, it was a lot of the same and I didn't know if you'd find that all that interesting. So here we are with my final cover page and just adding in my final borders, and you'll see me color my tab, and then I'm ready to move on to my next page. I'm still loving the irony of the quote that I chose. The struggle does not mean failure, and while I'm sitting here editing, I feel like it's mocking me because of all the struggles I went through in this setup. And granted, I didn't really feel frustrated at the time, but it's still funny to me when I went back to edit and to see how many mistakes I had made or how many times I did have an issue. For one, this is my second time recording this voiceover, but it was still fun setting this up. The next video I'm hoping to edit will be my goal journal, and I'm really happy I ended up doing my goal journal before doing my September setup, since it gave me more focus and intention as to how I wanted to set up my bullet journal for the month. So I actually feel a renewed sense of, like I said, intention and purpose. And so I'm excited to get going for September. I'm now moving on to my calendar page. This is probably my most used layout in my entire setup. I've really come to appreciate it. I've definitely gone from rarely ever using it to using it whether I use the rest of the setup or not. So the one thing I would maybe change if I could was somehow make it bigger so that I can fit more on it, since we are getting busier as the kids are getting older. We are now heading into the first big mistake of this setup. I thought it would be fun to have my lettering look like stitches. So for example, when you fix a sock and you'll see the stitches, or sometimes you'll see the stitching on a decorative sock. But once I started adding the black pen, it looked ridiculous. I don't know, it looked more like lights than stitching. It just wasn't the vibe I was going for. So I grabbed my notepad and I cut it to size, gluing over top of the mess that I'd made, and I was able to restart. If you do not have a notepad, you could just grab a piece of paper out of the back of your notebook and use that instead. I will say I am happy that I did find my notepad, because I actually did this again in the next layout, I believe. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of failures in this setup. I'll be honest with you, the failure that hurts the most right now is that I have to redo this voiceover, which means I'm not going to get this posted before September starts, which I was on track to get that done, but thanks to ongoing computer issues, my computer crashed and I lost a ton of work, even though I had saved it, or rather I thought I'd saved it. And this has just been an issue that has been going on for months now, and I'm just beyond frustrated, because you pay all this money for these products and then none of it works. But back to my layout, since I wasn't really feeling coming up with a new heading or font type to finish the setup, I decided to defer to my stamps. I always like to use one big bold stamp set and then one smaller stamp set for the smaller headings. So you can see the stamp set to the left of the screen. That's what I'm going to be using for my days of the week. And then the big stamp you see me stamping with now, those will be my page headers. In the spots where the stamp didn't go all the way flat on the paper and there was a bit of a ridge from where I had to fix my previous mistake, it was just really easy to go in with a marker or a black pen and fill in those spots. And as you can see, it looks fine. So there's a quick little trick for you there too. To incorporate more of the color palette into this layout, I decided to put some color behind the headings. So for example, the days of the week, I put some pink behind it. And then the little squiggles next to my big header is going to represent the Crayola logo, which you can see on the doll from the mini brand egg. And I like how it turned out. It's just a little nod to Crayola since it was part of the mini brand. And there I have my days of the week set up. And I'm just going to go in with my black pen and add the details for the Crayola logo. And then a nod to my overall theme, I drew a row of socks along the bottom of the page, and I went back in with the other little stamp that I had with the hearts and the stars and the squigglies, just to tie it back into the cover page. Okay, if you watched my June setup, you're probably thinking, what is going on here? So in my June setup, I went on this whole monologue of why I'm getting rid of my monthly overview page and that I didn't use it and I don't want to keep creating something I'm not using, and it's been months of creating it and I'm not using it. And now here I am. August, I didn't set one up, but here we are, September, and I am putting a monthly overview page together again. So this is stemming from my goal planner, and that video is coming. I'm going to share with you how I set up my goal planner, but I am going to digress for a second. Normally when I do my stamping, I like to start from the middle of the word. That way I have a sense of how much space I have. This time around, I didn't, and I ran out of space and I had to redo everything. So this is me grabbing my paper pad again and cutting it to size and gluing it over the top. This was not a theme I intended on my headings. It apparently became a theme, but it wasn't supposed to be. And so I just glued it over top of the mistake and we kept going. So I think this is the last really bad mistake I make. So at least there was that. Again, you're getting to see how easy it is to fix something. Depending on the size of the mistake, I would just turn the page and keep going. But I do sketch out my pages for an extended period of time. And sometimes when I feel super lazy and I don't want to have to redo pages or move everything over by a page, I will just glue paper over top of it and call it a day. And this is exactly what was going on with this layout. But with that said, this was a smaller mistake. I wouldn't do something as extreme as gluing pages together for this kind of a mistake. But I just wanted to let you know your options in case you do make a mistake or in case you just want to move on from the mistake and finish your project. So back to why I brought this layout back. With my goal planner, I was able to focus on what I want to accomplish. And I definitely wanted somewhere in my main journal to keep that at the front of my mind. So the headings I included were important dates, my mini goal focus, what's coming up, what I'm stressed about, and what I'm excited about. The other thing I brought back is a habit tracker. So for my important dates, that stays the same. Those are important dates for the month that I need to keep an eye on. My mini goal focus is what directly ties into my goal notebook. And then coming up, I intend to use this for what's coming up in the next few months. So October, November. And then what I'm stressed or I just see right now, stressed about. That's supposed to be stressed. I just realized now. And then what I'm excited about. And sometimes those things might be the same. That's fine. And then my habit tracker. Now my habit tracker is tying into my goal notebook as well. So instead of having my tracker in my goal notebook, which I might not necessarily look at every single day, this is the notebook that lies open on my desk every single day. And so I wanted to have it somewhere more central so that A, I fill it in, and B, that I can get an idea of how things are going and where I'm at. I do need to get into better habits, and so this is something that I'm going to have to make a priority and not just shrug off and laugh and joke that, oh well, it's a habit tracker, I never finish it anyways. No, I definitely want to make this a priority because there are certain things that I definitely do need to track, especially my working out and how much water I'm drinking and how much sleep I'm getting. Now onto my weekly setup. In my July and August video, this is the one layout that I said I wasn't going to change because I've loved it since January, or even I think beyond January. And this was the one that did change. So really in my July and August videos, I was full of it and kept stuff I wasn't going to and changed stuff I wasn't going to. So normally for my weekly setups, I like to do horizontals. So on the left-hand side, I had my dailies where I would add appointments or meetings. And then on the right-hand side, I had a to-do list. As my kids are getting older and as I'm getting busier too, there are more and more appointments and meetings and schedules and sports and whatnot. So I realized I needed more space. And so I'm trying a vertical layout for my weekly setup this month to see how it goes. Of course, I'm tying in the sock theme. That's where I'm going to put the dates of the days of the week. And as you saw in my calendar page setup, I am putting color behind the stamping. So you'll see me go in and add those strips of color. My to-do list is changing as well. On the left-hand side, I have L. L is for life and W is for work. So work is for my day job every day through and through, and then life is kind of capturing my side projects as well as family stuff like groceries and making doctor's appointments and getting winter tires put on my car. I know it's still August while I'm editing this, but I live in Alberta, so I'm going to have to be real with myself and probably going to have to schedule that out sooner rather than later. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for being here. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. There is a deeper meaning to the reason why I chose socks over the sneakers. And it's very layered, obviously. There are a lot of controversies going on with a lot of sneaker companies right now. Skechers, for example, they released their latest ad campaign for shoes that look very similar to the shoes I got in the Mini Brands egg. And they basically used AI for the entire campaign. And it's an absolute joke. It's actually quite a mess. So you can go look for that if you're curious how that worked out for them. And then, of course, there's Converse, who approach artists to do collaborations on shoes and then end up dropping the artist and using the design anyways. So I really was not in the mood to do sneakers given all this sketchy behavior. And when I looked up past controversial situations, one of the stories that came up was in the 1960s, one of the Olympics, two athletes of color refused to wear their shoes and stood wearing socks on the podium as a way to fight for their rights, particularly rights of people of color in the United States in the 60s. And we're there again. And so I thought that would be kind of a nod to that. And I know talking about this later on in my video is probably a bit of a cop-out, but I just needed it to be said because that was what was going through my mind when I decided on this theme. I didn't want to be too heavy-handed. I know a lot of us use our journaling as an escape, but I've been finding I want to express myself more and more through my journal. And it's these little ways that I'm finding to rebel against the system and society pressures, being silent in spaces that people deem shouldn't be political. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in anymore. So I will keep using my journal to express how I feel and hopefully find a more eloquent way to express myself, because this wasn't eloquent at all, and I do apologize for that. I do want to find my voice, but I also want to be more informed, and so taking a lot of information in and finding a way to express that using the right terminology in a way that I can express myself properly. Holy smokes. So if you're still here after that, thank you again. I am setting up my review page. I've condensed this one as well. I changed the headings to my big win for the month, other wins I've had, what I'm feeling, what I'm celebrating, and what I'm focusing on in the next month. I'm excited to use this page. I also like the new headings because it's less stamping, so it goes a little bit faster. And the right-hand side of the page is where I plan on doing my memory keeping for the month. Every video I say I'm going to go back and fill out all these pages throughout my journals for the whole year. And I'm going to say it again in this video because I still haven't done it. I also want to get caught up on my December daily. I've tagged video down below if you're curious what that is. There's just so many projects I want to work on right now. My ADHD is ADHDing really hard right now, and I just need to stay focused and get done what's important to me and not get distracted by side quests. With that said, I have ordered some miniature kits that I'm dying to build. I can't wait till they arrive, which is going to take away from my overall focus. But you know what? I have to feed my inner child sometimes. So I think I'm going to get a to-do list. And if I get the to-do list done, inner child gets to build her miniature. I'm now going in and adding in the headings for my tabs. This felt a little bit more pressure to me because normally I do it using acrylographs, and so if I mess up, I can just color in over the acrylograph and do it again. But with these super tips, obviously I can't do that. So I was very nervous to mess up, which is silly, but that's fine. It is what it is. I could have just glued paper over top of it like I did most of the layouts in the setup. I joke, but it really wasn't that big of a deal to fix the mistakes. And if I'm being 100% honest with you, that's how most of my setups go every month. So not bad, but that was my September setup for you. I really do like how it turned out. I feel like I say that every month, but this month, considering how much I struggled with the concept for it and that it took too many brand eggs and I still ended up with a similar theme. But yes, I am happy with how it turned out and I'm really excited to give these new vertical layouts a try and see how they work for me. I hope you enjoyed today's video and I'm going to get editing on my new bullet journal setup since I'm already using it. Thank you for watching today and I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure to check out one of these two videos below. I'll see you over there.